Hello, everyone. This is Coach Clayton, and this is the Women's Empowerment Interview episode. And today we have Ashlee as our guest, and she is going to discuss her journey of overcoming personal and professional obstacles in her life. Welcome, Ashlee.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, absolutely. And again, Ashlee, thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy day to chat with me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yes. So Ashlee, as we discussed earlier, I'm an accountability coach, and I created this podcast to really inspire women, a place for women to, join us every week to really find inspiration, especially with so much going on in this world. So thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah. So Ashlee, your background really intrigued me, and I really wanted to have you join our podcast to, discuss the obstacles that you overcame and also to discuss the business that you created as well. So let's just dive right in, Ashlee. Where do you want to start? Let's discuss your personal obstacles. What are some of the things that you've had to overcome in life, Ashlee?
Yeah. So I would definitely say the biggest thing that I've overcome is a domestically violent relationship.
Okay.
That happened in my teens. It was about 4 to 5 years long. The end was messy. And then, I had a lot of PTSD, anxiety, depression, suicidal thoughts from that. And, it took me a long time to kind of heal that. And then when I was 25, I met my husband. We had our first kid. We had another kid. We bought a house and moved states. And, I thought everything was great and everything was fine. But I still had this chronic back pain. And this back pain started when I was 21. I threw my back out twice in 1 month when I was 21 from like sneezing one time and then coughing the other time. And, I went to the doctor so many times. Nobody could ever tell me what was wrong or why my back was so bad. And so I just lived with this pain for 12 years. And in the fall of 2020, or in all of 2020, one of my manifestations was I am back pain free since 2020. That was on my list of what I wanted to, because it was really interfering with me being a mom. My youngest was like 15 months and I could barely put him in the car seat because I always had this twinge that my back was going to give out. And like when I would go to lay him in his crib, I'd have to like drop him the last 6 inches, just like release him to the mat because I couldn't bend over while holding something that was 18 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
And so that was one of my big goals of 2020. And in the fall of 2020, I started hearing how emotional trauma could be stored as physical pain. And when I heard this, I thought it sounded a little bit crazy, a little bit woo. I didn't believe it, but I was so over the pain at that point that I was like, you know what? I'm just going to explore this route and kind of see what happens. Like I'm open to the possibility because no one has any answers for me. So maybe this could be the answer. I don't know everything, right?
Yeah.
And then right around the same time, I ended up in a manifestation course with somebody that I had met online.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, this sounds like fun. I'm going to learn how to be a better manifester. This is great. I'm excited. And what ended up happening was inside of that course, there was all of this healing that I didn't expect. I thought it was going to be all fun and stuff, but we did like inner child work, these really deep, long meditations, a cord cutting meditation. And when I was doing this program, I realized that even though I felt happy and I felt that I had healed, I realized I still had so much anger and so much hate for my abuser. And I realized that that wasn't okay. And that I was always constantly thinking about this person. Like 12 years later, I was still, why did you do this to me? I didn't deserve this. I can't believe you treated me this way. And like reliving those moments. And I now know that I was just constantly triggering my trauma. So I did about 4 to 5 weeks of this like deep healing work, lots of crying, lots of journaling, lots of releasing and forgiving.
Mm-hmm.
And then I woke up and my back pain was gone. So
what? I am amazed with this. Wait a minute. Okay.
yes.
So I always hear that your physical pain definitely is related to what's going on with you emotionally. Could be anger, it could be sadness, but you are living proof that this is actually the case, Ashlee.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. So it took you to do your inner child work, and what exactly for you, what exactly do you think was the breaking point that helped you one day wake up and say, this is it. I'm that my back pain is completely free.
That it was completely gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I think the forgiveness part of it was the one that was like most pivotal,
Yeah.
because I learned that forgiveness isn't like saying, "Oh, I absolve you. It's good. Like we're cool." It's not saying what they did was right or anything, but it
Mhm.
was releasing that from me, because I don't know if this person is still even thinking about me or if they have any feelings, but I was the one that was holding on to it for
Mhm.
12 years. And I was the one who was in physical, chronic, debilitating pain. It
Yeah.
affected my life. It affected me as a mom, me as a person, because I
Mhm.
always had this nagging pain. And I
Okay.
realized that I needed to release that and move on from it.
Okay.
And so I think that was the biggest part, was because I was just holding on to all of this negative energy, this
Yeah.
stagnant energy, this anger, and finally releasing that and getting out of my body. And
Mhm.
then stopping the like replaying it in my head, which
Okay.
just kept triggering that trauma back up and
Okay.
releasing, all of those stress hormones, which we know stress is really bad on your body too. So
Yes.
I think it was just finally getting all of those emotions just out of my body.
Okay. And from what you learned, what does forgiveness look like for you?
Yeah. So forgiveness, like I said, it's not saying that what somebody did is right or
Yeah.
that what they did was acceptable or okay. But forgiveness is just letting go and releasing all of the energetic ties to it. Like no longer being upset about it, no longer feeling that anger or that
Mhm.
hate, because that just creates that inside of you. And then that gets
Mhm.
reflected onto the people that you love, whether you mean it to or not. So forgiveness is
Okay.
releasing it.
So it's releasing it.
Yeah.
So I noticed that you said previously that forgiveness doesn't mean that everything is okay. So is it just that it's an acceptance of the situation and just letting go of it? Or is it saying that, I went through this, it wasn't okay with what I went through, but I do accept what I went through, and now it's time to live my life.
Yes, exactly. And I did like the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer, which is Hono Pono or something like that.
Okay.
A lot
Okay.
of O's and P's and N's. That's the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. And basically you say like, I'm sorry, thank you, I love you, please forgive me. And so you just like work through those emotions and you
Mhm.
find the healing and the growth, you find the lesson from it. So I
Okay.
realized like, yes, this happened to me, but it
Mhm.
made me a stronger person. It made me a kinder person because I never wanted anyone to feel that way.
Mhm.
And, now I'm turning that adversity into a business so that I can help and serve other women who have been in these toxic or abusive relationships. So it's really just releasing it and then finding the growth.
Okay. That's it. That's key. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So it's releasing it, finding the lesson, what you've learned from that, and then moving on with it. I love
And I
that.
I never said this to this person. I didn't like, I wrote a letter and then I burned
Mhm.
it. I didn't like send them the letter. I
Yeah.
didn't call them and say like, hey, by the way, I forgive you. And because
Mhm.
it's not about them. It's about
Yes.
you. It's about forgiving it within yourself. Not, you
Okay.
don't have to go and tell them anyone who's wronged you. You don't have to go up to them and be like, I forgive you, let's hug it out. You know what I mean? I have no
Yes.
intention of ever speaking to this person again, of having any sort of relationship or friendship.
Mhm.
They've actually tried contacting me recently and I completely ignored it. And
Nice.
so it's not about them. It's only about you.
Okay. important point when it comes to forgiveness. And I love the fact that you said that forgiveness isn't just saying, oh, I forgive you. It's actually working through the emotions that you have and finding that lesson, that hidden lesson inside of the experience, which is very, very important. Wow, very inspiring. So tell me about your business, Ashlee.
Yeah, so I just launched it a couple months ago. I spent the first few months trying to figure out exactly who I served and how. And
Okay.
it ended up being the scariest option for me, which is helping women who have been in a toxic or traumatic or narcissistic relationship to really heal and grow from that trauma. And
Mm.
I realized that that's just what I'm most passionate about. That's what I'm most knowledgeable about because
Yes.
I went through it. And then I had this 12 years after the relationship ended where I was suffering in debilitating pain.
Mhm.
And, I didn't even know that you could have physical pain from emotional trauma. And
Yeah.
who knows, like I know 1 in 4 women will be in a physically abusive or aggressive relationship. And
Mhm.
how many of those 1 in 4 women, how many of them have chronic migraines or stomach issues? I had a lot of stomach issues too that sent me to the emergency room, or they're dealing with chronic back pain, hip pain, all of these things. How many other women are
Mhm.
suffering with chronic pains and no answers? And they don't even know to think maybe it was a relationship from 10 years ago, like I did. And so now I'm creating a kind of a group coaching container, and I have a 5-step framework that I'll be walking them through. I'm working on the first step right now,
Mhm.
and just really teaching about trauma, about the effects that it has on our body and on our brain. It's
Mhm.
so interesting to me because it is like it is like creating a user manual to myself. I'm
Oh,
like,
I love it.
oh, that's why I acted this way. That's
Mhm.
why, if I had a difficult conversation with my husband now, I would run away, like
Mm.
literally run away, shutting doors behind me. And he would just open them up or unlock them. He was an army ranger, so you can't keep
Okay.
him out of anyway. But I wouldn't be able to handle the conversation because yelling instantly, even if it wasn't yelling, he just has a deep voice and was talking
Yeah.
emphatically. He
Mhm.
wasn't yelling. He just wanted to discuss something, and it automatically triggered this like trauma response inside of myself. And I would just
Wow.
want to run away from the conversation. And so learning and doing all of this research and creating this program is just so eye-opening. And
Mhm.
I'm learning so much about myself. And yeah, I'm just really excited to get it out into the world.
That's exciting. That really is. And that's going to help so many women, Ashlee. What would be a message to a woman right now that's watching this that is in the midst of, say, a domestic violence relationship? What would be a message to them?
To someone who's currently in it,
Yes.
yeah, that's tough because when you're in it, there's nothing that anyone can really say, and no one who can really convince you to leave. I know that for me, it was really hard. And towards the end, I knew it was getting more and more aggressive. I
Mm.
was losing consciousness a few
Mm.
times, and I knew that if I didn't get out, that I could end up dead.
Yeah.
And um, I didn't even get myself out. My subconscious did. I
Okay.
fought back one time, and I consider it to like I saw red. Like that's how I describe it, because
Yeah.
I like blacked out but was
Mm-hmm.
awake, and I fought back, and I actually I kicked him while he was, because he realized that I kind of wasn't there anymore. He had his hands up trying to stop me, and I kicked him right here and like
Yeah.
shattered the bones in his wrist. And
Okay.
that was the last time that he ever put his hands on me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there was nothing that anyone could have said. And I had become so isolated because he cut me
Oh.
off from everyone as well. So it's just kind of something that you have to do on your own. And
Mm-hmm.
if you know that it's getting worse, then try to get out as soon as you can and
Mm-hmm.
start the healing process. Yeah.
Okay. Ashlee, how can women find you online? Because you have a coaching, you're starting the coaching program, but how can we find you online?
Yeah, definitely. So I am most active on Instagram. It's
Mhm.
at Ashlee, ASHLEE underscore holic, HOELCK. And also right now I've got a freebie that you could sign up. I teach EFT, also known as
Oh,
tapping,
yeah.
and it's a short, quick video. So is a super powerful tool to help you with some of the trauma symptoms like PTSD or anxiety, feelings of low self-worth and limiting beliefs. So that's
Okay.
there for anyone who wants a free little gift.
Nice. Very nice. And lastly, what is the biggest takeaway that you would like to tell our viewers?
I would say pay attention to your body, because the last few years I am learning so much about how we really can control our bodies, and we do that with our minds, and our minds are so powerful.
Mhm.
And the way that we think, our mind was programmed that way, so it can be reprogrammed. It just takes a lot of repetition and upkeep. But just like we go to the gym and we eat healthy, our minds require the same thing. It's not kind of like oh, I meditated this week, I'm good for the year. It's like you need to keep up with your mental health as well. So pay attention to your body and take care of your mental health.
Okay. Very good. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Ashlee. Thank you, thank you, thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, thank you for having me.